All right, let me just grab the agenda here. Zoom window back up. All right, well, hey, let's call the August 19th Fitchburg Library Board meeting to order. And we'll move on to item number 2, public appearances. We've got item 2A here, public emailed questions or comments.
I have not received anything.
Nada. Okay, then we can move right along to item 3, approval of the minutes. 3.1, we'll need a motion to approve the July 2020 Library Board minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the July 2020 minutes.
Second.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the minutes? Then let's have a vote. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed, no? And the motion has passed, and we'll move right along to agenda item number 4, the treasurer's report.
All right, so you've got the overview and the register. Nothing super out of the ordinary here. One of the accounts that had a large expenditure was $340, and that was for our first round of quarantine bins. So we bought 6 bins in June, and then another 6 bins in July, and that's how we've been dealing with quarantining. We are now quarantining items for 4 days instead of 3. So that's how we're dealing with that. I do expect that expense will be reimbursed by the CARES Act funding later in the year. I would also say that I think almost everything that's in account 350, we have asked for reimbursement so that all of those expenses potentially will be paid back to us as well. So that's the disinfecting fogger and the plexiglass for the desk surrounds, that kind of thing. The MG&E bill is kind of excitingly low, so $3,300. This is our second lowest. I've gotten a couple more recent ones, and it is on its way right back up. So this was short-lived, but good to see. And I think that's it. Are there any questions? I guess the other thing I would mention is that when you keep an eye on the revenue accounts, like we're going to have quite a few revenue accounts that are not going to make it anywhere near where we thought they would. Copies, fines, donations are probably all going to be low. I think we're going to be fine for the year. We've got quite a bit of savings in salaries and wages right now. I should also mention that I asked Ben to sign a budget amendment that we had to send. Misty recommended, so we moved $4,500 from salaries and wages into $355, which is equipment, and that is to cover the RFID equipment that we've purchased. So that is just kind of a technicality so that when the auditors come, they know that we did that on purpose. And we have plenty of savings in salaries and wages because the outreach librarian is open. Any questions?
Wendy, you said the MG&E is going back up. Is that because we've got just more staff in the building now and actually putting the building to work? And plus it's the
also
summer.
Going up. So I was going to talk about this in the director's report, but we can talk about it now. The solar installation had some hiccups. So the sustainability specialist noticed that it was not reporting any output. And it turned out that we had 2 problems at the same time. They had replaced a switch in the IT closet here, a city switch, and they had not programmed it correctly to display on that monitor that's in the lobby. But of course, nobody really has noticed because we're so busy doing curbside and not looking at it. So that was an issue and that got fixed, but it turned out that two-thirds, so we have 3 inverters that are on the roof that allow the solar to work. And 2 of them were in alarm, but we had no way to know that they were in alarm. We had the electrician who installed it come back out and worked with Kevin and with Phil Rupi, the sustainability specialist, to figure out what the issue was. So they're back up and running, but I don't know that we exactly know when they conked out. I think it was one of them was in May and one of them maybe was in June. I'm not seeing from the bills significant issues. So our electric bill didn't skyrocket because of that, but certainly probably would have been lower if they were functioning. And Stephen, or Kevin and Phil are working on some sort of check-in balance to make sure that if this happens again, like we get some sort of notification that it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. So, yeah. All right, so we should vote on approving that.
Okay, we need okay, I'm off mute. We need a motion to approve the June 2020 financial overview and register.
I will motion to approve the June 2020 financial overview and the financial register.
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no?
Aye. Or I'm sorry, I got out of order when I was trying to get my mic working correctly.
No problem. We got you, Ben. Thank you. Okay, motion is passed. So we can move right along then to, well, sorry, Wendy, I may have jumped the gun. Did you need anything on the register that we didn't cover?
Nope. We're good.
Good, thank you. Move along to item number 5, any unfinished business?
Never.
As always, no unfinished business. So we can move right along to item number 6, new business, and 6A, election of new officers.
All right, so I think we have a slate.
You?
Excellent.
I can go ahead and present that. The nominating committee reached out to some folks and to see if they would be willing to be officers, and all have agreed. Thank you. So the slate would be Stephen for president, Anne for vice president, and Ben for treasurer.
Deborah and the committee, thank you very much for doing that work. We will need I believe we're going to need a motion to confirm those 3 appointments, Stephen for president and vice president, and Ben to continue as treasurer.
I will motion to approve them.
And I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Just as a question about procedure, could I have seconded that since I'm on the slate, or is that
Probably better not to.
okay? Just asking about parliamentary stuff.
Yep.
And Ben, it's possible we should do each one individually, but if there's no concerns, I think we'll just go ahead with all 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably poor form to second or you know, move.
I don't know if it's technically against the rules, but it seems like you're smarter not to.
Right. Okay, so if no further discussion, then we need to vote. All in favor? Aye.
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 And a thumbs up from Ben.
I just leave my mic on. I keep forgetting to hit the space bar.
Must be that fancy mic. It looks like you're in a recording studio or something.
They were on
Okay.
sale, and my wife was like, "You should have one." I'm like, "I don't need one." Well, now I have one.
Opposed, no? Okay, motion has passed. Thank you all very much. And on to 6B, formation of standing committees.
All right, so we have the 3 standing committees: personnel, strategic planning, and facilities. And I meant to grab my list of who was on that's in my office next door, but I did not. So y'all gonna have to help me out with who's on. So personnel is Stephen and
Me.
Deb.
Toby.
Toby.
Okay, excellent. And strategic planning. Deb?
I think I was on strategic planning.
I think so. And who else?
We never actually met, so I don't know who else.
I know, this is not a committee that meets regularly.
Chris, I believe that I was as well.
Okay. And then, did we have a third? I feel like we usually have three.
Facilities.
No, a third person on strategic planning.
Oh.
Maybe not. Okay. And then facilities, Ben, you're on facilities, correct?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like I have these all written in my notes somewhere. I forgot to pull them up when we were meeting. Let me pull that up really quick.
I can run next door and grab them also.
Okay.
Why don't I do that?
Yeah, would you, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep, I do have them in I think I have them in my notes here.
Oh, I
I
found them.
believe I was on facilities.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, the notes I have from
No.
2019 were Ben and Toby on facilities, Deb and Chris on strategic planning, and Stephen and Ann on personnel.
Yep, and for this year, I just have personnel and nominating. On personnel, I have me and Toby, and then on nominating, Deb, Chris, and Ben.
Okay, so I had Deb and Chris on
Deborah.
strategic planning, and then Ben and Toby on facilities. But I think that Toby moved to personnel, and now Randy is on facilities. Do we think that's right? Okay.
So let's run
So-
through it. Let's run through it again.
Okay, so personnel is Stephen, Ann, and Toby. Strategic planning is Deb and Chris, and facilities is Ben and Randy. Does that sound correct to everybody? Randy, did you know you were on the facilities committee?
I did not, but I'm glad I'm included. I felt like odd man out here.
welcome to the
Oh, we
team.
won't leave you out. So I just wanted to make sure we're comfortable keeping those committees, or if we wanted to change anything around.
What do we need to do, if anything, with the nominating committee, which was Deborah, Chris, and Ben?
I don't think anything. I think their task
Okay.
is done now that we elected officers.
Yep,
So I don't think we worry about that again until next year.
this time next year.
Yep. So if everybody's happy with where they are, then I say we just leave the committees as they are. But we should probably have a motion and a second and a vote to do that.
Yeah, but okay. Yeah, can we have a motion to maintain the personnel, strategic planning, and facilities committees as is?
I'll motion.
Second.
Thank you, Chris. So it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? I think I have a question, which would be personnel committee has very clear action that they take yearly, which is to facilitate the process for Wendy's review, and then sit down with Wendy, post today's meeting, actually sit down with Wendy and go through that content. Nominating committee, which we're not worried about right now, that's clear when the time comes. What are the expectations, or what are the needs maybe for you, Wendy, from the strategic planning and facilities committees?
Those two typically just get pulled in if there is a need. So if we were in the strategic planning process and talking about hiring a consultant, that committee would meet to discuss that. Facilities, for sure, if we had any kind of, the chiller needs to be replaced, any kind of major project going on, that committee would meet to discuss that. Recently, we really haven't had a lot of that. We've had some small projects, but nothing that really required the committee to meet. That was not the case early on. The reason this exists is because we had, knock on wood, a lot of elevator problems, and we needed to get a committee together to deal with that. But things have been quiet. I should never say that out loud. I'm sorry I did.
With the retrofitting of light fixtures you mentioned before, is that something where facilities would be involved?
We certainly could meet about that. I don't think we're at a place where we have enough information to, but yeah, I think that LED project is going to be a big enough one to require it. So yeah, we'll probably have a meeting at some point when we are closer to having either the funds in place and or a contractor or a direction to go in.
All right, thank you, Wendy. So it sounds like strategic planning facilities sort of ad hoc as needed right now.
Correct.
If we were in a strategic planning kind of active cycle, they probably would be involved in that, but we're not currently. So
Right.
Ad hoc for now. That answers my question. Any other discussion before we move to a vote? Okay, let's vote on the motion. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion passed. And moving right along to item 6C, stipend discussion.
Okay, so this is something that we bring to the board every year for discussion. Since the formation of the library board in 2007, I believe, the board has always agreed to waive their stipend so as not to take that money out of the library's budget. But that is something that we want to make sure each board agrees on. I believe the stipend is $25 a meeting. And I also believe that the city council representative is not eligible for that. Randy, does that sound familiar to you? Is that something
I suspect that's true. I had conversation recently with the mayor, and that did not come up. So
okay.
And I
was going to go to City Hall today and try to find out the exact stipend number, but there's nobody over there. Usually I just wander around until I find somebody that can give me the answer, but there's nobody to tell me anything.
$25 an hour sounds about right.
Yeah, I think that's what it was last year, and I don't know that it went up. So essentially it comes down to about $2,000 that we would have to find somewhere in the library budget if you decided that you wanted to be paid for attending meetings. So it is completely up to you. There's no pressure to do one thing or the other. I would just need to know because we're in the budget process and that would need to be folded in somewhere.
So can I move to do away with the stipend, give it back to the library?
Yes.
Okay, then I move to do that.
And I'll second that motion.
All right, it's been moved and seconded for the library board members to give back their stipend to the library budget. Any discussion? Okay, let's vote. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And the motion passes. All right.
Thank you,
all for
everyone.
that.
That's very helpful to us. Every dollar counts, as we'll see on our next item.
Yeah, speaking of dollars, item 6D, the draft 2021 budget.
Yes. So we are deep in budget season. I had 2 meetings last week to review this. One was with the finance director and the city administrator, and one was with the finance director, the administrator, and the mayor. So we have a couple of numbers in here that are not exactly correct and a couple of things that have changed. So we're going to start with the budget expenditure detail. So this is the one that has a little bit more detail and is also a little bit easier to read. So I'm just going to go through and kind of point out where things have either moved or changed. I did try very hard to keep anything that I could flat. I just felt like this is not the time to be asking for a whole lot of new staff or programs or bells and whistles. I feel like we just want to keep things kind of flat. So starting with account number 240, this one has increased greatly. Part of that is because Kevin and I were discussing our HVAC. We used to have an HVAC service contract, so they would come in and do work 4 times a year. And that was mostly changing filters and greasing things. Kevin is now doing all of that work himself and only bringing general in when we have issues. So we are moving the money from 290 where it was a contract to 240 where it's work done by others. We often call this unexpected repairs, but I think we're kind of moving into a place where we can, that was also tied to the elevator. But I think we're kind of moving into an era of this really is work done by others. It doesn't have to be an emergency situation, but we want to have money there to do some projects. So I think we've got a compressor that is leaking. We're gonna need general to come in and work on that. So that is kind of the more appropriate place to place that money. There's also $20,000 in there for the LED lighting conversion project. The overall budget did increase by 3.5% due to net new construction in Fitchburg. So I was kind of expecting it to just stay flat. I was kind of expecting just a 1 or 2% increase. So that's more than I was expecting. So when that came through, because I still feel like keeping most of the accounts flat is the appropriate thing to do, we started looking at where we could put this to do some projects that we might not otherwise be able to do. So that's where that $20,000 is. If things go south with the budget process, that's the first thing that would come out. That's kind of an extra that I would love to do, but it is not required. So moving along, so you'll see down in 290 that account is actually down a little bit, and that is partially because of the HVAC being moved to 240. Another part of that you'll see, Biblioteca is who we have our service contract with for our sorter, self-checks, and security gates. It's a very expensive service contract. The equipment that we just purchased from Envisionware, the staff stations we just purchased, you'll see $1,000 in that account for Envisionware. So the service is just much less expensive than Biblioteca. So Biblioteca doesn't go away because we still have the 3 items on. Well, now it should just be the 2. So we'll have the self-check machines and the sorter, but we aren't going to be paying for the security aids and the staff stations anymore. So that's going down quite a bit. Postage, we were a little bit tight on that last year, so a little bit. Wait, is there a question?
No, I was just
Okay.
laughing. That makes sense. You spent a little bit more on postage.
Yeah, I feel okay about it right now too. Okay, so then moving along, almost everything is flat here. Programming, we're keeping the same. Staff development, we're keeping the same. 355 is equipment expense. So this is the account that we just did the budget amendment for. So we're just finding, as we're now 9 years old, that we've got furniture that is needing to be replaced. So I did put an extra, we usually have $3,000 in here, which is enough for a chair here and there, but not a whole lot of replacements. So I did increase that to 13,000. We are having issues with meeting room tables. Those have been used very hard over the years and need to be replaced. We also are starting to see our staff task chairs kind of bite the dust. So we've got some that are just completely unsalvageable. So we're going to have to buy a couple this year just to get through. But I think next year we need to look at starting to replace like a certain percentage of them, I think, every year. I don't think they're going to get better. We're lucky that the patron chairs seem to be just fine. They're the same type of chair, but they don't get used as heavily. So those seem to be just fine, and we'll keep those as long as that's the case. But I think this is going to be probably an amount that we want to keep going forward, because I think we're just going to see more and more things that need to be replaced. It's hard to think that we're not brand new anymore. Okay, then custodial supplies, we increased that just $1,000. That's mostly for hand sanitizer and soap, which I think is going to be an ongoing need for quite some time. MG&E, so 365 is utilities and telephone. MG&E I brought down because as we've been talking about, our costs have been lower. I was a little bit nervous about having done this when the solar was not working, but that didn't seem to have an enormous impact. So I'm going to leave it where it is, and we'll see how things go. Collection expense is staying the same. Other operating expense, this is how we pay other libraries for items that either are lost off the whole shelf or damaged. And we were tight on that last year as well. So just up that just a smidge. And then the IT, city technology allocation, insurance, technology allocation for capital, and the administrative fee, that all goes up depending on the sort of formation of the budget in the general fund, which is all the other departments. So those are numbers that come from the finance department. And I think those are all final. So I think we have a pretty good grasp on that. I'm going to switch over now to the teeny tiny print. And this one includes a lot of what we just talked about. but also staffing costs. Those all come directly from the finance department. And you'll see, you know, we've got a little bit of an increase in salaries and wages, and that's due to increases. If people are in steps, they're getting an automatic 2.5% increase year to year, but also pay for performance increases. I think the one number here that is not set in stone yet is health insurance. Those numbers are not final yet, so they are predicting here a 7% increase, but I think that may be a little bit higher. We'll see. Thanks. Yeah, so I think everything else, I think it's the health insurance one that we're really waiting on, but I think everything else looks pretty solid. Are there questions? Is there anything that you noticed that changed that I didn't address?
One question, the health insurance, do you carry the same health insurance as the city? City
Yes.
employee? Okay.
Yep.
So will that depend, if the city changes health insurance, you will as well? And
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
And remember, this is still a draft, so this will come back to you multiple times before it is finalized. I think it goes out for public comment in early October at maybe a council meeting or a committee of the whole meeting. Oh, I should also mention, per the mayor's instructions, this does include a 2% increase, cost of living increase for staff. I sort of put that out of my mind because I didn't think it was ever possibly going to happen, but it did because of the increase in net new construction. It was possible.
Wendy, how is that different from the salary increase when they're in the kind of step program?
So this step, so you'll get both if you're still in step. So the step increase is on your work anniversary, and it's that's based on getting a annual review that says that you're meeting expectations. So that is for the first 5 years, 2.5%. And then in the pay for performance, this year they approved, I think, 1% as an increase. And then there are like 0.5%, 1% that can go on top of that based on the score. So that was 2% last year. It went to 1% this year. And I'm assuming that's 1% for next year, although I would have to double check that.
So that's what kicks in after 5 years?
Right.
Got it.
Yep.
And so the 2% cost of living increase is just then applied to everybody?
Yes. Yep.
Makes sense. Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Do we need a motion to approve the preliminary budget, or is this just informational for
please.
now? Yes, please. Okay. Then we need a motion to approve the budget draft.
So motions?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. And the motion has passed. Thank you all. Moving along to agenda item number 7, the president report. That would be me. It always catches up to me every time we meet. Only thing to share is, as you all know, we will do Wendy's review discussion with the board yet tonight. Thank you all for submitting your online reviews, really helpful. And then following tonight, we will plan some time for the personnel committee to meet with Wendy and share the feedback directly with her as well. So that's it from me, and we can move on to item number 8, the library director report.
All right, so just a couple of things tonight. Wanted to report that we had a few jobs that were posted. We had vacancies, one in the circulation department in LA1 that got a full-time job elsewhere. And then 2 in the youth services department. So one that got a full-time job and one that has decided to stay home. So we did, and shelvers. We always have shelver positions open. We had a couple of kids that are heading off to college. And so we had 3 positions open there, and then the evening custodian position. So we did tons of interviews, and we actually did them in person. We asked people to come to the south door and use hand sanitizer and wear a mask. And then we did our interviews in the teen area with meeting room tables that were all 6 feet apart. And I'm happy to say that all went very smoothly. It was kind of asking a lot of people, but almost everybody cooperated. So we have had 1 new person start in youth services this past week, and then we've got a whole bunch of new people coming on board. I will report that training people in a mask from 6 feet away is a little bit interesting, but we're working it out. We've got some workspaces where we can have people far enough apart, but also kind of teaching people that like what you're doing right now is what we're doing right now, but it's not what we usually do. So I feel like they're going to have to kind of train again when we're back open as normal. But it's great to have people on board. Curbside is going really well, so we need the people. So yeah, I was very happy with the candidate pools and very happy with all of our hires. So as terrible as the economy is, we're sort of benefiting from it by getting some really good new hires. As I have mentioned probably 1,000 times, outreach librarian is still vacant and we are not posting that. I don't know where that's going to go depending on how the pandemic shakes out. Okay, wanted to share with you, curbside is going very well. I would say we're doing between 60 and 90 pickups a day. People seem very happy with it. You know, we're getting a few comments every now and again about how people wish they were open. And, you know, frankly, so do we, but I still feel pretty strongly that it's not safe to do it right now. We did have a patron that we had to email. He approached, so staff are putting books out every quarter of an hour. I would say they're outside for like 30 seconds to a minute, but we did have a patron who managed to approach a staff member without a mask and start yelling about wanting to pick things up that he hadn't called about. She asked him to back up to 6 feet and he refused. So she went back inside as she should have. We did email him and tell him if we have any more issues with his behavior that he will not be able to use curbside pickup. It kind of just reinforces to me that I'm glad we're not open. I feel like dealing with that all day is going to be stressful. We have been getting some questions. You know, Verona's got their lobby open for some browsing. We've been getting some questions about why we aren't doing that. So just to share with everyone and anyone who's watching, I think the Verona Library is kind of built for this. Like if you've been in that building, their lobby, you've got one door into the lobby and then they've got a door into the building and they can secure that and keep people just in the lobby. And that's where the restrooms are as well. This building was not built for this. So we've got that tiny vestibule where I don't think you can social distance once people, and even actually from the vestibule, you've got a set of stairs and an elevator. So you can go up or down and get anywhere in the library really that you want to. Once we would let people into the lobby, there's really no stopping people from utilizing the whole library. So I don't feel like a browsing collection is something that we can do just with the physical layout we've got. I will say on the flip side of that, where we're really lucky is that we've got enough staff space that we are able to keep our staff here. I know there are some other libraries that have very tiny staff workspaces, and so they're having to kind of alternate who can come to work on what day. So up and downside, I think to everybody's physical layout right now, this is kind of how it's shaking out for us. But I do think things are going really well. We are planning to expand services a little bit after Labor Day. So we're working on plans right now, increase hours. So right now we're doing 2 mornings, 2 evenings, and then Friday and Saturday. We're gonna try to closer mimic what our normal open hours were. So I think we'll be starting to take calls and do pickups. We're still working on the exact hours, but so we would normally open at 9. So we'll probably open the phones at 9 and then start pickups at 10 and then go till I think 8 in the evening, Monday through Thursday. So it will be a pretty big increase in hours, which I'm hopeful will help people, you know, that are back at work or have other things going on, be able to pick up. We are also going to start doing book bundles. So we're going to have a form on the website that you can fill out for one for adult and one for kids. So if you don't know what you want to read and you know, for the people that wish that they could be browsing just to pick something, You can tell us what your favorite genre is, some other books that you've liked, what your interests are, and we'll put together just a bundle of 5 books that you can check out. So I think that will be appreciated. I think there's some people that don't have a to be read list, an arm length long like I do. And then we're also gonna, I think, figure out a way to do pickup printing. So we've been hearing from a lot of people that don't have printers at home that need them. So I think we're gonna try to set up, you can email us your document, we'll print it out and just put it out with curbside. So I think that would be helpful. So we're just kind of trying to look for anything that we can add to the service with the amount of staff time and the contact us. So I think that's, I think that's it. Y'all got the email about the other patron issue, so we don't need to go into that. I will keep you apprised of any changes there. All right, that's all for me.
All right, thank you, Wendy. And we can then, anything on the 2020 stats you want to share? July 2020 stats.
They're terrible. I mean, they're going to be terrible. We did just kind of pull together the summer reading statistics. So we did that through the BSTEC app and website. And we got about half the number of people that we usually get. We got, interestingly, more adults than normal, which I didn't expect. But kids were down, but I think even being at 50% of what we usually do is actually pretty good from what I've been hearing from other libraries. Everybody was way down. And we are actually gearing up to do a fall reading program. And then I think we'll do a winter and a spring, or a winter and then summer. We'll see how it kind of shakes out. But I think that we've got this software that we can do the online programs. And I think that with a lot of kids that are, at home doing school and a lot of people that are still hanging pretty close to home, I think it might be something that people would like to do. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, the rest of the stats, I'm kind of trying not to focus on them. The website, I mean, it's interesting to see online programs. So the virtual program views, I mean, it shows you that the staff are really working very hard to get virtual programs up on Facebook. I don't think that's ever going to give us the kind of numbers that we get from in person or the kind of experience that we get in person. But I think we're doing as well as can be expected.
And Facebook stats are notoriously unreliable.
Yes, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, they will lie to your face about what your numbers are. So
Yep.
This is maybe neither here nor there or anything at all. Last year, towards the end of the year, when we had a graduation for our 5th graders, and we streamed that through YouTube using some like live streaming software. That was kind of a novel experience because it was like doing a live TV broadcast. So it happened live, and then when it was done, it went away. So that if you're doing something that's copyrighted or otherwise, you have some other reason to limit it. It was like a nice way to cut it off.
Sure.
I don't know.
We've been doing our story times that are using books that are copyrighted. We have a Facebook group that you join. So it's not just out on Facebook because that violates copyright. So you have to join the group and agree to some ground rules, which I think makes our numbers lower than they might otherwise be. There's a lot of libraries that are just kind of ignoring all the copyright rules, but I don't feel good about that. So we're not one of them.
Last spring, it was the Wild West as far as copyright was concerned. A lot of publishers were kind of hand waving copyright on their end. But yeah, I think that pretty strictly adhering to those standards and like letting patrons know why you're adhering to those standards is just good practice because people don't know. Right.
I feel like it's the responsible way to do it.
Yeah.
Even if it gets us less stats.
Yeah.
Well, and Wendy's something that would never really show in the stats. You forwarded that nice handwritten note that you got.
Yeah.
And that's pretty amazing. I mean, to me, that's shows what you're doing for the community, even if the stats don't reflect it, or the staff might not feel it day to day.
Yeah. I think we get a lot of people on the phone that are very understanding and very happy about what we're doing. But that doesn't get shared widely. I was so happy. I want to almost send a thank you note for the thank you note because I think it just lifted everybody's day a little bit to see it written down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know if there's gonna is there already conversations about how this year's stats will affect other
We're
other
starting to, right, because all of our circulation numbers, that affects the cross municipal, cross township payments. There's some discussion about just throwing 2020 away and using 2019 twice.
Okay.
Which I think is probably the smartest thing to do, but I guess we also don't know what's going to happen in 2021. So yeah, there is a lot of discussion about that and how it's going to affect funding and
Okay.
yeah. Nobody has an answer yet, but we are having discussions.
Okay.
All right, Wendy, thanks for the update. Anything else, or shall we move on?
We can move on.
Ready to move on? Okay, we are now on to item 9, committee reports. And we talked earlier about who's on the committee, so we can start with anything for strategic planning. Chris and Deborah, probably not.
Not for me either.
All right, and same thing for facilities, or anything else to add for facilities?
I don't think so. Oh, no, we have good news. We have received a $5,000 donation that is going to be matched by a company in town. That is going to the Friends, but the donor checked with me to see what projects we had moving forward that we could apply it to. So I had a meeting with the Friends, and they, I think we're either going to put it towards the two projects that I talked about in the budget. So that either the LED conversion or the meeting room table replacement. They were happy with either of those projects. So I think we'll tuck that money into that. So if we could use $30,000 to start the LED project, I think that would be amazing. So yes, so very, very happy that we have these projects that are going to go forward. Yes.
A question. How did $5,000 come about? I mean, was it solicited? I mean, just volunteer?
No, it was actually a former board member that reached out and had the match, the company that would match it to the donor or to the recipient of their choice. Yeah. So very thankful for that. And that will go towards one or the other of the facilities projects.
Good.
That's really cool.
Okay, and that's all I've got for facilities.
Okay, that's facilities, and then personnel. Maybe the only thing there, Wendy, a question for you is how would you like to schedule time for Ann, Toby, and I to connect with you between now and the September meeting?
Sure, I think we just need to find time and do a Zoom meeting.
Yep. Okay.
Does that work?
That definitely works.
Okay.
Is the Zoom something that you can set up from your end, or
Yes.
how? Okay.
Yes.
Great.
So
So
we'll probably just need to do some kind of a doodle poll to see when we can meet.
Yep.
Okay. And do you want to do that, or do you want me to do that?
If you know how, that would be really helpful.
Sure. I can do that. Is the feeling that we want to do like an afternoon, an evening? What works best for people?
Late afternoon would be just fine. Anytime
Okay.
after 4 for me.
Okay.
Do any time.
Yep.
Okay.
Same here.
Okay. Perfect. I will get that out.
All right. Thank you, Wendy.
Yeah.
Okay. With that, I think we move on to item 9D, closed session. And I think this is the awkward moment where I actually have to read this verbatim. And then what will happen, Wendy, you, Chad, and Andrew will all drop off, and it'll just be
Yep.
the board left. Is that
Correct.
the plan? Okay, bear with me for a moment, everyone. Let's see. Pursuant to section 19.851C Wisconsin statutes, the commission will move into closed session for the purpose of considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, more specifically to discuss a personnel issue, evaluation of the director. So with that,
Do
do we need a
the
motion? Yeah, okay, so yeah, could I have a motion to move into closed session, please?
A motion to move into closed session.
Seconded.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? Okay, motion passes. We can now move into closed session. Thank you. Okay, motion passes. We are back in open session. And Chad, I think we're good to go. Could you give me a thumbs up from Chad? Okay, so agenda item number 10, announcements, which is just our next library board meeting will be Wednesday, September 16th, same time on Zoom. And now I would ask for a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
I'll move to adjourn the meeting.
That was Deborah.
Yep.
And will second.
And we will move to a vote. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay, the motion passes. Thank you all again very much, and enjoy the rest of the summer. We'll talk in September.